Good morning, my dear students. Welcome to our IP class. We already started the topic of control statements. In Python, there are two types of control statements. They are conditional statements and iteration statements. In conditional statements, we will use if else, if elif, nested if else, etc. We already discussed about conditional statements in the previous classes. Today we are going to start iteration statements or loops. So in conditional statements, what happens when we check a condition? If the condition is true, then the part of that condition is executed. That means body of that condition is executed. And if condition is false, that part will not execute. Iteration statements or loops are used for repeated execution of particular code. As the name implies, loop means repeat. So in this, we are executing a statements as long as the condition is true. If a condition is true, then repeatedly the body of the condition will execute. In conditional statement, only one time the program or body of condition execute, but in iteration statements repeatedly condition block is executed. There are mainly two types of iteration statements are used in Python. They are while loop and for loop. In your syllabus, they specified in CBSE syllabus for loop is needed for us, but we have to know about while loop. So for that purpose, we are going to discuss first while loop. So while loop is known as entry control loop. That means when a condition is true, then the body of loop will work. So at the beginning of the loop, condition will check. Look this flow chart, what is happening. Here there is an expression. If our expression is true, then body of while is worked. Then again it will goes to this expression. Again the expression is checked. If it is true, then again body of while is worked. Like that it will repeat. These statements will repeat. And when our condition becomes false, what happened? It will exit from the loop up to that moment. If the condition is true, then this loop will work. Then if our condition becomes false, then only the while loop will exit. So its syntax is while a condition will be there, inside while there will be some statement or statements. Let's look at this example. In this example, the value of x equal to 1. So while x less than or equal to 4, what happened? It will check 1 less than or equal to 4. Then the condition is true because 1 is less than or equal to 4. Then print x. Print x means the value of x is printed. That means this 1 is printed. Then again x equal to x plus 1. What happened? Inside this body of while, the value of x becomes 2. So in while loop what happened? Again this condition is checked because after executing body again test expression is checked. So here it will check 2 less than or equal to 4. Then condition is true. Then print x means this 2 is printed. Then again x equal to x plus 1. That means the value of x becomes 3. Again it will goes to loop 3 less than or equal to 4. Condition is true. Then print x, that means print 3 is printed. X equal to x plus 1. The value of x becomes 4. Again it will check 4 less than or equal to 4. 4 not 4 less than 4 is false, but here condition is less than or equal to. Either condition is true, then it will enter into the loop. So 4 equal to 4, Then what happen? Print x, that means 4 is printed. X equal to x plus 1. The value of x becomes 5. Again it will goes to the loop 5 less than or equal to 4. Then condition will be false. Then it will exit from the loop. So output will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So repeated execution is takes place in looping statement. So in looping statement, some while using while, some specified components will be there. That means initialization. Initialization means a variable must be initialized when we are using while loop. First, then there will be a condition. Based on this condition, this body of the loop will work. Then there will be increment or decrement operator will be there. So these are the necessary conditions. So inside loop, some increment or decrement operations will be there. Then only this while loop will execute. If it is not used, then the loop will execute indefinitely. That means the loop will not stop. So if a condition is true, up to that condition becomes false, the body of the loop is executed. Then we can use while loop with else. That means while there is a condition, then this part is worked. Else, if condition becomes false, then inside else value is printed. So this is while loop. Like if we are using if else, we can use while and else together. That means this, if this condition is true, then the block of statements will work. Else, if this condition becomes false, then the body of else will work. Then there will be infinite and finite while loop. Infinite while loop means, let's look at an example. The value of x equal to 5. Here we are using while x equal to 5 print inside loop. What happened? The value of x equal to 5. Then print inside loop. This inside loop, this statement will work. So first inside loop will be printed. Then again goes to the loop. Again x equal to 5. Then again inside loop will print. Then again goes to the loop x equal to 5. Then inside loop will print. So this loop will repeat indefinitely. That means infinitely. So this is known as infinite loop. So to avoid infinite loop, we must use this type of increment or decrement operations. So if we forgot, then what happened? Infinite loop will take place. Next is for loop. So this is while loop. So in while loop, don't forget inside loop we have to write increment or decrement, or suppose like some like conditions or some operations. Otherwise it will produce infinite loop. Next is for loop. For loop is, compared to while loop, for loop is simple to write because no need to increment manually, no need to initialize. Initialize means we are giving this x equal to 5, which is known as initialization. In the for loop syntax itself, we can give initialize values or we can give the increments. So syntax of for loop is, we have to use the keyword for, then a variable name, then in sequence. In sequence means there is a function. Normally we will use a function which is known as range function. By using this range function, automatic increment of program takes place. So let's study that range function. So in for value in sequence, then colon, then statements. For example, for I in range 3 comma 5, you know what happened? The initial value will be 3. No need to initialize manually. Initial value will be 3 and the final value will be 5. Final value means 5 will not consider. Up to 5 increment takes place. So first value of I becomes 3. Then print I. What happened? 3 is printed. Then automatically again it will goes to the loop. Automatically this range function will increment. So 3 becomes 4. So the value of I becomes 4. Then print I. What happened? 4 is printed. Again this range function automatically increment to 5. The value of I to 5. So 4, 5 in range 3 comma 5. What happened? 5 is the last value. That means we cannot count 5. Before that we have to stop. So up to 4 only possible. So condition becomes false and it will exit from the loop. So don't forget, range function will work as increment operator but up to the final value, not the final value is considered. So for this variable I, initial value will be 3, next value will be 4, then next value will be 5, then condition will be failed because this value also 5. Up to 4 is possible. So this is a range function consists of two parameters. Again, next in for loop we can use three parameters in range function. Then what happened? 5 comma 3 comma minus 1. That means initial value of I becomes 5, final value of I, that means up to 3, that means 5 and 4 is possible. Then comma minus 1. In range function automatically increment takes place, but here we are giving minus 1. Then what happened? It will subtract. That means the value of I becomes 5. Then print I means 5 is printed. Then value of I becomes 4 because here minus 1 is used. 5 minus 1 is 4. So value of I becomes 4. Then 4 is printed. Again 4 minus 1. Last value of I was 4. 4 minus 1 is value of I becomes 3. Then it is exited from the loop because this final value will not count up to that value. So output will be 5, 5 and 4. So in range function we can give start, stop and step in this example. Start, stop, step. Step is minus 1 means 1 is decremented. If step is 2, what happen? Minus 2 means then 2 is decremented. Then we can use for loop with else also, because if condition becomes false then it else will work. Then in for loop we can use range function alone, single parameter. That means range of 4. Instead of 2 parameter we can use range of 4. Then value will be 0, 1, 2, 3. The value of I will be 0, 1, 2 and 3. Then we can use nested for loop. Nested means one for loop inside another is known as nested. So here there is a for loop for I in range 1 comma 3, then for j in range 1 comma 1 comma 1. Then these two for first the value of I becomes 1, j becomes 1, k equal to I star j means k, the value of k becomes 1. Then again this inner loop will work. After exiting from the inner loop, then only the outer loop work. So the value of j becomes 2. The value of I is 1 itself, because after exiting from this inner loop, then value of I is incremented. So according to that, this program will work. This is a simple Python program looping using while loop. The value of I equal to 1, while I less than or equal to 5 means 1 less than or equal to 5. Print I. So this will print up 1 to 5. So let's look the output. When we are running this program, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the output, because initially value of I becomes 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. It is printed, and when it becomes 5, it will execute from the loop. So this is a program using while loop. The same program can be ended by using for loop like this. Only two steps are needed. No need of initialization, no need of increment. For I in range 1 to 6, what happened? Initially value of I becomes 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, up to 5. This will work. Let's look the output. When we are executing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be the output. So initially the value of I becomes 1. Then print I means value of I becomes 2. Print I means 1 is printed, then value of I becomes 2, and so on. So by using this we can print the output easily by using for loop. In while loop, we cannot print like this way. In while loop, we have to use initialization and increment or decrement operator. So this is about for loop. Let's wind up this session. Thank you and have a nice day.